Alright, gentlemen. So, I'm gonna actually switch off my screen because it's hard to not look at my stuff. So, the topic that I want to address to all of you is the raw vegan diet, the raw food diet. These are the kind of names that it's often called, and the ketogenic, Atkins diet. So, I've been always a very health conscious guy. I know. You know what? Skip this part. No one cares what kind of a health conscious guy I am. Let's just talk about. So, I was really a fan of the Atkins diet and the ketogenic, high fat, low carb diet because it's really totally logical. If I'm just thinking about the fact that most of the things that we take up that our ancestors did and we follow up, most of our, undescribable, mysterious, diseases, but we don't really know where does it come from and stuff, stop. So, you know, it it seems to be really effective against really like such diseases like diabetes or cancer. So, that is a really good point for sure. And yeah, I was like really in the past half a year, 6 months, about 6 months, I was like really into, upgrading my physiology, my brain, my cognitive function and stuff. So I was really into finding the perfect diet, the perfect nutritional tip, and I reached the kind of state when I was willing to eat anything if it turns out to, you know, improve my just being, which could make me a better me more. So I was willing to do that. I would even eat human meat, flesh, if it turns out to be really healthy. And I was really like pursuing the one, the magic bullet, that okay, if you eat this and only this and nothing else, then you will be in a perfectly healthy condition. And I love fruit. I just really love fruit, and it broke my heart, but it turned out that you know fruit is not an optimal choice as a primary carbohydrate because it's full of fructose, especially the ones which are high in sugar. So I don't know, melons, which I love, bananas, even though bananas are a little bit disgusting when you speak when you're eating it, but I love the taste of it, obviously. And tangerines and orange and watermelon, honeydew, these kind of stuff. And you can basically only eat safely the fruits which are really like really low in sugar, and those are incredibly expensive, like blueberries and stuff. Like I live in Holland now, and like 4 euros, 400 grams. Like I eat 400 grams like in 2 minutes. So it really broke my heart. But I said, if this is what is going to make me a better, version of myself, then so be it. So I basically dropped all the fruits and I started to eat really high fat and, you know, even chose a can of coconut milk instead of a bowl of fruit because it was high in fat, really low in carb, and the other one was just the opposite. And it was a lot of suffering and stuff, but the problem was that I experimented with the low carb high fat diet twice, and both times I spent in this ketogenic kind of diet when I was really like counting my carbs a day. I spent about uh, 2 or 3 days in this really extreme state, and both times it just screwed up my digestion completely big time. So uh, when it happened the second time, I was like, oh my god, no, this cannot happen again. It just cannot happen because the theory is just so right. You know, high fat, our ancestors preferred eating high fat instead of high carb. They didn't really, probably didn't eat that large amount of fruit because they were looking for the perfect, energy source, which was fat for them because it lasted the longest and it was the most fulfilling things. And I just didn't want to accept the fact. So now the second time, which I officially ended today, I was like really, I was just waiting on. I was expecting my body to adapt to it after a while. So I just stayed in this ketogenic state and I added some vegetables here and then, added more and more vegetables to let's see what happens. Maybe it will get things moving because when I said it screwed up my digestion, what happened is actually that, I don't want to go into details, but I just didn't visit the toilet for 3 days. And when I did, basically what came out was, like 3 pieces of, you know, stone. Stones, just little pieces of, rock solid, you know, things which were like chiseled out of marble. So that was the big problem. So actually, I realized that I'm eating the diet which is supposed to be the perfect diet. And one thing is for sure, if I eat a big fatty, meal with you know, large amounts of fat and protein, then I won't have to eat possibly for a day and a half because my body uses it perfectly and I'm not gonna starve and just freak out. That's true, but you know, I recognize that my body composition was not improving, but actually probably partly because I just couldn't visit the toilet too often. It was actually just, getting worse. So I just realized that I have to do something, and I broke my fruit uh, restriction. I went to the shop and I bought actually 4 honeydew melons, pretty big ones, and 2 boxes of blueberries. It was pretty expensive, but I sat down and I started to eat the first honeydew, and within the first 3 bites, I felt that, and again, I don't want to go into details, but it fixed my digestion problems within 3 minutes or 5 minutes. And, you know, it just, right now, I'm at the point when I really don't know what to do because the theory is perfect of the high fat, low carb diet. But for me, it's it just seems to be not working out. That is my huge and really huge problem. I really am by now. I have become the kind of guy who will eat anything. I will eat my own shit if that is ought to make me, a better person. But you know, the fruit restriction, the high fat, and those kind of stuff is just not paying out for me right now. So, and actually, I still truly believe that this has to do with the really shit, awful quality of food here in the Netherlands. Really, just I go to the shop and basically, you know, everything makes me feel crap, whatever I eat. So, I'm still a big fan. That my gratitude and passion towards Marxism, Dave Asprey, um, some Hungarian folks who you don't know. who are really at the eliminators of this whole primal paleo movement, Cordain. I'm still have all my respect for them, but for example, Dave Asprey often emphasizes that it's not just when we are talking about what's healthy, what's not. It's not just okay, meat is healthy and fruit is not healthy. It's also the kind of meat what we're talking about. So I'm thinking that when I'm actually on a high-fat diet in Holland, or at least in this city that I'm in, at least, and this is not Amsterdam, uh, I'm also at the same time it will involve an extremely high toxin diet as well. So, and that just I might be a living proof to what Dave Asprey is preaching, that it you know these mycotoxins and whatever can make a really big difference, because I just ate a few of an abandoned stuff and fixed my digestion within 5 minutes, and I was struggling it for 3 days and I felt awful, and now it's pretty much fixed. So I'm gonna switch back my screen now because I'm gonna stop this video shortly. So I don't know, I'm really confused. I don't really know what to do, and probably what I'm gonna end up doing is trying out some really stupidly sounding, isolation, whatever diet that, okay, I have 2 vegetable days, 2 meat days, and 1 fruit day, or whatever, something like that, because, after a point, as Mark Sisson says, that he would rather look fit than being fit. Now, I would rather feel healthy than actually be healthy, because I might be really healthy when I'm on a ketogenic diet. Here in Holland, I emphasize it as much as possible because I know that it's not the same probably as being in a ketogenic diet at the place where, I don't know, Mark Sisson lives. So, yeah, as he says, if you look fit, then you're probably pretty fit. Now, I will say that if you feel healthy, then you probably are pretty healthy, which is probably not completely true, because guys like me who are in their 20s, as Mark Sisson said again, they can pretty much get away with murder. They're gonna get away with it. We're pretty unvulnerable at this stage of our lives, so we will feel pretty healthy no matter what. So we have to be a little bit more conscious than that. But luckily I have most of the guidelines to follow. I'm consider myself well more knowledgeable in this field than the average 20-year-old guys. So I don't know. We will see. We will see.